Hey everyone, I'm THPine and welcome back to my Screeps Nooby guide. Today we're gonna talk about defense. So since the last video, my colony got completely wiped multiple times by some random NPC creeps, and I decided it's a good idea to build a tower, so we got one over here. So now it's time to get it working. So in this episode we're gonna talk about supplying the tower with energy, making the tower shoot things, and repairing walls. Before we do that though, I have to mention two mistakes I did in the last video. So I had two typos basically. So the first one was in the spawn code, I think over here I typed upgraders instead of upgrader, which makes no sense. So if you didn't notice that, fix it in your code as well. And the other one is in the prototype spawn function, I typed working instead of state over here, which makes no sense either. So yeah, feel free to fix that if you don't have to, already. Okay, now let's talk about the tower. So you have to supply the tower with energy. As you can see, this tower has some energy already. That is because this is not the first try on recording this video, but because I'm a little sick, my brain is slow and freezing, and I get all the words confused and stuff like that. So it was a terrible video and decided to redo it. So here we are. The tower has some energy already, but it has to be supplied with more energy. And we also have to make it shoot. So supplying with energy, well, there are multiple ways of doing it. The simplest way is to let your harvesters handle it. This has some downsides, which I'm going to mention in a moment, but let's implement that for now. So the harvester should not only supply the extensions and the spawn with energy, but also the tower. So that's really simple to do. We just jump to the harvester script and we add another line here to the filter, which checks for the spawn and for extensions. We just add another one, another line which checks for a tower. So as structure type is structure tower. There we go. And that should do the trick. So there we go. Now the tower is getting supplied. There's one big downside to this. The tower is the harvesters are looking for the closest building that needs energy, and in a lot of cases this will be the tower, which is good because it means the tower gets supplied with energy. But it also means, since the tower takes quite a bit of energy, it has a maximum of 1000. If the tower is empty, not a lot of energy, or it will take a while until energy is going back to the extensions in the spawn again, which might be too much time to actually spawn new creeps before your old ones die out and stuff like that. So this might, issuing this command might cause this colony to collapse, but it will respawn, and until as soon as the tower is actually full, it should not be a problem anymore, because the tower is not like decaying energy or anything like that. It's just using the energy when it's shooting. So as long as we're not getting attacked, the tower doesn't need energy, and the energy can go to the extensions and the spawn. However, this might, in short term, this might become an issue, but it's the easiest way of implementing it, so I'm okay with having this colony die out one more time. So that should be okay. Okay, next thing, make the tower shoot. You could put this in a new module, but it's very few lines of code. So let's just put it in the main script, shall we? Here, right after the creep commands. So we go over here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna get all the towers in a variable or an array, and we do so by saying game spawn 1 room. Actually, no, let's not do it this way. Let's do it the other way. Game rooms, and what's the room called we're in? W24S23. W24S23. And then we do find structures, and we put a filter in here, which checks for the structure type tower. Structure tower. There we go. And now we have all the towers in the array towers, and now we're gonna loop over all those towers. Since this is an array, there are, or at least I know of 3 different kinds of loops or for loops in JavaScript. The first one is the for in loop, which we use over here, which basically loops over all the properties of an object. Then there is the indexer loop. Or counter loop. I'm not sure. I think we use that somewhere where you have a variable which counts up. Which is very good for iterating through arrays. However, there's a more convenient way of iterating through arrays in JavaScript, which is the for off loop. So we're gonna use that, and the syntax is pretty simple. You put a variable and you put the keyword off there and then the array. And this will just iterate over all the towers. So for every object or for every tower in this array, we will have one iteration in this loop, and the tower of this array, the tower of this iteration will be in the variable tower. And now we can just check if we have a target for this tower. So we say var target is tower pause find closest by range, not by path, because the path doesn't matter. The range does, however, because a tower deals less damage the further away the enemy is. So we want to find the closest one, but not by path, because path doesn't matter, just range. So find closest by range. And we gonna put here find hostile creeps, which is the variable you want to take for that, and that should be the should do the trick. And now we just check if we found a target. So if target is equals undefined, and in that case we're gonna shoot it. Target, not target, tower attack target. There we go, and that's it. That's all we need for shooting things. So that's really simple. Tower is not a big deal, actually. It's fairly simple. You could write more complicated scripts. I could build a second tower, for example, and then let one tower focus on one part of the room and the other on the other, or maybe focus them on the same target or something like that. You could do things like that, but we're not going to bother with that right now, and just write a really, really simple defense script, which should be enough against the random NPC creeps. So, okay, with this out of the way, we're going to talk about walls. Walls are a little tricky. They seem really, really simple, but they have one issue. Okay, if you build a new wall, it will start with 1 hit point. And you could think, well, just include it in the repair code and let the repairers upgrade them to full hit points. Well, sounds like a good idea at first, but then you will realize that a wall has a max hit points of 300 million. Which is quite a lot if you compare it to roads, for example, which have 5,000 hit points. Well, or 25,000, depending on where you build them. Thanks for that. There were multiple people in the comments actually explaining to me how the road stuff is working. There are two different situations. You build a road on a plain land or on a swamp. If you build it on plain land, it will cost 300 energy and it will have 5,000 hit points. If you build a road on a swamp, it will cost you 1,500 energy and will have 25,000 hit points. So that's the difference there. But that's way, way less hit points than a freaking wall has, 300 millions. So if we just include the walls into our repair code, then the repairers will always look for the closest closest structure not at full HP, and that might very well be a wall. And they will take forever to fill this wall up because, as mentioned, it can have up to 300 million hit points. So this should not be a priority, but it might become a priority because it's the closest structure to go for, which means other structures like, for example, roads or other walls which are further away will not get attention and will not get repaired, which is obviously not a good thing. So we're going to do it a little different. There are multiple ways of handling this, but I decided for a very simple one again, well, fairly simple one. And for that, we're just going to create another role. You could make the repairer code more complex, but we're not going to bother with that. We're going to create a new role, and we're going to recall it wall repairer. And we're going to copy the code of the repairer role to this, and then we're going to modify it. And we're going to delete all of this. Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to look for all the walls. So let's make a variable of walls, and we just take the room property of the creep and find all the walls. So structure, find structures, and we put a filter in here. Filter structure type is structure wall. Let me do it this way. There we go. Structure wall, and close the brackets, and there we go. Okay, so this is all the walls in the room. Some error statement expected. It looks good. What did I screw up? Oh, yeah, it's an error because this is not. Wait, we're gonna. So now it should not. Well, come on. I just want to get rid of the freaking. Oh, yeah. I should close the brackets. There we go. Just want to get rid of the syntax highlighting of the IDE. We're gonna change that later, obviously. So now we have an array of all the walls. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're not gonna go for the closest wall, but what we're gonna do is we sort the walls into buckets of different percentages of HP. So let me write it down first and then explain it. So we do an index route, and then counter. What did I say? Index route? That makes no sense. A counter loop is what I wanted to say. A counter loop. So we put with a variable called percentage, and we start with 0.0001, which is 0.01%. And we're gonna compare percentage to 1, which is 100%, and we increase it every iteration by another 0.0001, and yeah, that should be correct. Okay, so what does this loop do? Well, basically it, for every iteration, well, it starts with 0.0001 or 0.01%, and it will increase this this number by every iteration by 0.0001. So in the first iteration, percentage will be 0.01%. In the second iteration, it will be 0.02%, and so on until we get to 100% or 1. And now we're gonna check for walls that have less HP than this percentage, like less percentage EP, or yeah. Is that how you say it? No. You know what I mean though. Let's write it down. So we're gonna do var, no, we're not gonna do that. We define a variable target first. There we go. And now we're gonna say target is creep pos find closest by path. Find structures. No, not find structures. We're not going to looking for all the buildings. We're just going to take this array. So there are two different ways of calling the function find closest by path. You can either use one of those constants to look for specific things in the room, or you can use an array of objects you look through. So this will only look for all the objects in here and find the closest by path. However, we're going to filter it before we do that. So we filter it. Oops, there. Filter W for wall, W hits divided by W hits max is lower than percentage. Cool. So what does this do? Well, it takes all the walls in the array, so all the walls in the room we looked for earlier, and then it's gonna filter for only the walls that have less percentage HP than the current iteration indicates. So in the first iteration, less than 0.01% HP. And if we find one, we're gonna break the loop. So if target is not undefined, then we're gonna break the loop. The break statement will break the loop, which means we will not go into the next iteration, and instead we're gonna continue after the loop. So basically we loop through the percentages until we find a wall with which fits the description of having less relative HP than the percentage says. In that case, we're gonna find, like, this could be multiple ones, obviously, because it's like buckets of walls basically, or multiple buckets of walls with different HP. Well, HP buckets. Well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but I think you get the idea, hopefully. Anyway, and we find the closest one in this bucket basically. And if you find one, we're gonna break the loop, and we're gonna take that as target. And if we found one in general, like we could still find no wall at all, because if all the walls are full HP, or if there are no walls in the room, then we will loop through the whole iteration or through the whole loop without finding anything. And in that case, we want to go in the else branch here and call the builder role. But if we found one, we're gonna do the repair code, which is if creep.repair target is air not in range, then creep move to target. There we go. And that should do it. Okay, one more thing, obviously, we're gonna have to spawn some wall repairers. So we go to the main script. Well, actually, let's look over it really quickly again, so I make sure you understand what I was actually doing here. So again, we first get all the walls and save them in the array called walls, all the walls in a row. And then we're gonna loop through them, and we're gonna basically sort them by percentage HP. So we're gonna check if we have a wall or multiple ones with less than 0.01% HP. If we have one, we find the closest one and break the loop and go down here. If we don't find one, we increase the percentage or the threshold by 0.01% to 0.02% and check if we find a wall with less than 0.02% HP. And if we do find one, we take the closest one, or if we do find some, we take the closest of those and break the loop, and so on, until we either break the loop because we found a wall, or we end the loop because we reach 100% HP, which means we don't have to repair any walls. And then we're gonna either repair the wall or go to Roll Builder, depending if we found one that's suitable or not. Okay, cool. I hope that was clear. As mentioned earlier, I'm a little sick, so I kind of struggle to make proper sentences. So I hope I still make sense though. Oh wait, that seems to be old code. No, maybe. Wait, oh yeah, I changed that. That's way too many harvesters. We're gonna adjust those numbers a little bit. You have to keep an eye on those numbers. Like, those are not set in stone, especially the harvesters one. If your energy sources are running out of energy frequently, then you probably want to reduce the number of harvesters. And the bigger your creeps become, like the more extensions you build, the less harvesters or the less creeps of each roll you need, because you will have less creeps in total. So yeah, it doesn't make in the beginning it makes sense to have like 10 harvesters or something when your creeps are super small, but the bigger they are, the lower this number should be. And I think at the current point I should only have one right now. And now we're gonna add another variable for the wall repairers. We're gonna put one here as well, and then we're gonna count them as well. All, oops, that's not what I wanted. Wall repairers, number of wall repairers, and then we will give them the lowest priority of all of them. So we put the condition after the builder part. So we put down here, if not enough wall repairers, number of wall repairers is lower than minimum number of wall repairers, then try to spawn a wall repairer. There we go, and that should do the trick, and that should be all the code for today. And this code in general should give you like a simple defense, and at least should be enough to defend against random NPC creeps. So that's good. And yeah, that's basically the end of this video. So far, I managed to publish new videos in this series very regularly. I think I actually succeeded at publishing one video per day so far. So that's pretty cool, but that's probably gonna change now for multiple reasons. The biggest reason is that until now, so now at this point in time, so after those 8 episodes now, you should have like a this is the base code, like this is the groundwork, and on top you can build whatever, but this is the base work done. And now we have covered all the super important subjects for the first few days, and that was the goal of the series anyway. I'm gonna make more videos with more advanced topics and some other stuff, definitely, but they're probably not gonna come as regular, like once per day as mentioned. There are other reasons. Another one is that I'm probably pretty busy again the next few days in real life, so I don't have too much time for making videos, and I also want to make, I have other videos in the pipeline again. Like for the last week, I was pretty starved. I was starving on, like I didn't have any interesting games to play besides Screeps, so I didn't bother to make anything besides the Screeps tutorial, which is why I made it so regularly. But now I have a few other games on my list again, so yeah, I'm gonna probably make videos for those. So yeah, and also I will be able to create content for Arena of Fate from next Thursday on, which will be fun, hopefully. And so yeah, probably less creeps from now on, but there will still be creeps from time to time. I want to cover more subjects. a few more things like improving your code, like making use of memory. Maybe like right now we have a lot of duplicated code, for example. Like the roles are all very similar. And there are a lot of cool ways of improving that and making it more reliable, more easy to read and stuff like that. So I want to cover things like that, and also there are obviously more things to do, like setting up links, for example. Are they called links? Yeah, links, and extractors later on as well to get resources and stuff like that. Maybe conquering another room as well and stuff like that. So that would be cool. So I want to cover that at some point, but as mentioned, not as regular anymore as you used to. As you are used to from the last week or so. So yeah, if you just subscribed for Screeps, feel free to unsubscribe if you don't care for other stuff. But keep in mind, I cover other cool games as well, and you like Screeps, I like Screeps, so we might have a similar taste. So you might be interested in the other games I cover as well. Maybe not. If you don't care, then just unsub if you want to. But if you stay here, that's cool. If not, that's cool as well. I really appreciate that you spent time watching my stuff. I cannot stretch this enough. It always amazes me the feeling that there's this amazing feeling that people spend their free time watching my content. That's really cool to me, because for me, free time is like a very, very valuable good. And yeah, if someone decides to spend his free time on my stuff, that's amazing. So thank you for that. I really mean it. And so long. I hope this series was helpful to you and will still be helpful to you in the future. So yeah, I'm TH Pine. Have fun and see you next time.